You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series, your biweekly dose of insights and learning for accounting professionals with co-host Dan DeLong and Sharon Fuller. We're here to explore the latest in the industry, QuickBooks, and integrations that matter to you. For more details on the series, visit qbpowerhour.com.
Well, welcome to another QB Power Hour. This week is the Open Tab, which is all about Intuit updates and yammerings back and forth between Sharon and myself. My name is Dan DeLong, owner of Danwith and School of Bookkeeping. Worked at Intuit for nearly 18 years doing the co-hosting today. And Sharon, back from her whirlwind tour of where have you been? You're muted.
Sometimes I feel me being muted might be better for the well-being of the universe, but I just got back from Marietta at a small business conference where I was the opening keynote. I'm going to say that 500 times because I am really proud of it. I will post that
As
video
you should
soon.
be.
Or if you're in my community, they did a whole professional thing. They're posting it. And then I was at GrowCon. GrowCon is amazing. If anybody has not been, you need to go. I'm just telling you, I spoke there too, but aside from that, it is a really good conference. It's different than the rest. So I shared approved. And now I'm back getting community stuff ready because tomorrow I leave for Mexico for 6 months. And then I go straight to San Diego for Firm Growth Forum where I'm on a panel. So
Wow.
Just a little bit of a break, a little bit.
Do you even know what time it is? You've got to have time zone fatigue.
And I was home last week for about 3 days and my husband got up and just left the house and I was sitting in my office and I texted him and go, "Hey, where'd you go?" And he goes, "Oh my God, I completely forgot you were even home. I'm so used to you not being here." So I think I need to get a surrogate wife or something while I'm out. I feel bad. Just to do sports stuff with. Nothing
Right.
else.
You've got to dress up in...
He heard that. He goes, "What?" Oh, and we're in the middle of hockey playoffs. So I have a lot going on in life right now.
Yes, as my Philadelphia Flyers got swept.
Yeah, that was sad. I mean, I can't talk. We're 2-2 in the Ducks. But yeah, we're trying to decide, are we going to go out on a catamaran on Thursday or are we going to actually watch the game? So it's a hard one. I don't know.
All right.
Back to work, guys. Back to work.
For those that are
Who Donna off of this right now with this duck crap? What is this? We ain't doing this, Donna.
some Southern Californians
Oh,
throwing in their local cheer. For those of you joining us for the first time, some updates on our webinar series. We have switched to a individual registration so that you can add them to your calendar. You can plan out farther. We do have on the qbpowerhour.com website those registrations up until, I think, mid-June somewhere. So you can go in and see what topics we're planning instead of the 2-week shuffle as we had been doing on the recurring series before that.
oh my
But
Lord.
we have,
Not for me.
Clearly, at some point we're going to get Sharon involved in creating some of these slides.
I have got in July. I'm in July. I've got a couple
That's right.
in July and August I will host.
Exactly. So we have our recurring themes of the Open Tab and Take It to the Limit and Beyond Bookkeeping, Niche Nuances, Is the Grass Greener? So we're trying to categorize or consolidate some of these topics into like-minded. We are also kicking around some ideas of each QB Power Hour having a segment or a section inside, like we have been doing with Intuit News for each one. We've been thinking of some of those ideas as well inside of each webinar. So stay tuned for that. And I've lost my mouse. There it is. Okay. So the agenda today, I didn't update the agenda slide. Looking at it.
Dan, honestly, the fact that we even try to have an agenda here is great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love your effort.
So it's a hidden agenda today. No,
Okay.
it's actually correct with the exception of the topic for the Intuit News. We talked about that. last time. So it'll be a surprise what we're going to be talking about in the Intuit News segment. But we are going to be focusing on a couple major areas for the most part. And it will be around the enhanced inventory receiving, because I have been on a soapbox about this new feature and function. I was talking about it a little bit on the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants podcast with Alicia Katz-Pollock. I've written a blog. And so I want to make sure that people have everything that they need, especially for the accountants in the room that might be surprised if a client inadvertently turns it on and wondering that if it's broken or not broken, or if it's working as designed or if it's designed poorly. So we want to talk through that as far as enhanced inventory receiving with the item receipts, and then we'll talk about some of the desktop migration enhancements. Intuit has started to socialize that moving to QuickBooks Online is an upgrade, which is that's a stretch, I think, especially if you're using QuickBooks. If you're using QuickBooks Desktop and using the functions and features of QuickBooks Desktop, you might find that some of these things are.
It used to be. I don't know. I used to only know desktop. I was desktop, and going to online, like, what is this crap? And then you use online for so long. I go to desktop and I'm like, I forgot how to use desktop. But desktop does so much more. But don't get used to it, folks. It's going away. You all can stop your feet in sand all you want. It's going away. So everybody's mad at me for saying that, but watch.
It's not if,
I was
but
saying
when.
it for 5 years. And it never will.
It's not if, but when, but we don't know. We don't know specifics, right?
We're waiting to see how much we freak out. Honestly, I'm a cloud girl, but.
And then we'll talk about some of the Facebook groups, common posts that we've seen over the last month or so. So, Sharon, our first poll question today, launch.
I'm launching.
A look of surprise as you go.
I need the presentation. I need the thing on the other side that tells me what the next slide is, or just have it open. It's not like I don't have access to all of this.
There we go.
I don't like to come prepared because I feel like that's your thing.
That's right. It's the odd couple in us, right? And I'm the Felix and you're the Oscar.
I'll take it right now.
All right. Which is not fair, right? I should be the Oscar because you can see by my hat.
Dude, I am legit the Felix in every aspect of my life, except for when I travel. We've seen pictures of my hotel and this webinar series. Other than that, I'm the Felix, so I'm excited to not be.
All right. Yes, this is what we're going to talk about. The ProAdvisor recertification, which is probably why we are a little bit dipping on the live attendance today. Because I did get some notification that our session is conflicting with a QuickBooks recertification webinar at the same time. For those of you that are watching the replay afterwards, welcome, and we hope you passed your certification. But that is the recertification is expiring June 30th. If you don't take the recertification, this is an annual thing, then you end up having to take the entire exam, which is, instead of 2 modules of 10-ish questions, you have to take 8, 9, 10. I don't even remember how many sections of the regular certification exam there are. There are also in the ProAdvisor training, there's other foundational training that's in there. QuickBooks Level 2, which was the advanced certification, and Client Advisory Services Foundation training, Intuit Bookkeeping certification, and Intuit Enterprise Suite certification. None of those are required. As a matter of fact, I don't think any of them are required. It used to be a requirement.
Oh, Dad, it's lip service now. This whole certification thing, I was not going to say anything. I was waiting for you to ask my opinion, but
was
The
just
whole
talking to you.
certification thing to me is just, or just feed the masses some breadcrumbs to keep them happy. I don't think the certification means crap because I think the whole partner channel is going to go away. I think the whole accounting piece that they did for us is going to go away. I think it's going to go away before they get rid of desktop, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Can we take bets?
But at Intuit Connect, they were talking about in May. So here we are in May, talking about again, they always love this word of reimagining things.
Yeah.
They were going to talk about what the reimagined QuickBooks.
The reimagined is
ProAdvisor.
They want to be like, yeah, sorry.
Whatever the ProAdvisor is, they're going to start socializing that pretty soon. I know an Insightful Accountant had Jacqueline, on there talking about that. I did not attend that, so I don't know the specifics about anything that
I don't attend anything they do anymore because it's just nah. Ted leaving tells us everything. Ted, who has been face of Intuit, that man jumped ship. He saw what was in the world. He saw, and this is my opinion. I do not know. Ted and I are friends. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw the next year and said, I'm out. I'm not going to these conferences and letting these accountants like Sharring walk up to me and verbally abuse me. I'm not being the face of this anymore. And he jumped ship. So be prepared. That's all. That's all I have to say.
Do you think he left on his own? He saw it and then left, or was he?
Absolutely. They probably said this is what it is. In my opinion, I don't care. This is my opinion. I think he's been very committed to this, right? He has been him and Jess McCracken are very committed to this partner channel. It's their life. And I guarantee you, Ted was let in on whatever their new thing is. And Ted was like, nope, I can't be a part of that. I'm going to go do something else with someone better. Sorry, bye. See, Donna agrees. See?
And if Donna agrees, then...
If Donna worked into it for a while until she was on this show and then...
Okay, so close that chapter. Sorry, what burns Sharon's s'mores?
Sharon's s'mores are burnt.
That's right. So enhanced inventory receiving. I want to talk a little bit about this topic. We had mentioned this a little bit before on the last open tab where we were talking about item receipts being available inside of QuickBooks Online now, right? So the situation or the circumstance where this bubbles up to the surface is that the reality of managing your inventory is going to could potentially have two options. And one of those options is you've received the merchandise separate from the time that you received the bill or paid for said merchandise, right? In QuickBooks Desktop, they use this terminology of an item receipt, which evolved into this option of enhanced inventory receiving, which was a feature or function that you could specify. Because in reality, QuickBooks Desktop, an item receipt was a bill that you couldn't pay, right? So it affected the exact same accounts fundamentally, right? An item receipt affected the accounts payable balance for the vendor, but when you went to pay bills, you couldn't actually pay said item receipt because it wasn't a bill to pay. You had to put a check mark on the bill received inside of Desktop, and that turned it into a bill. The problem with that is that it turned it into a bill on the date of the item receipt, which is now not the same thing in reality, right? You always want to try to match the QuickBooks reality to what actually happened in reality. And in reality, when you received merchandise in January, you want to receive the merchandise in January, and you receive the bill in February. You want to receive the bill in February, right? So that's now two different events, and the check mark of bill received did not allow. So what ended up happening is that they added inside of QuickBooks Desktop this option called enhanced inventory receiving, which then separated those two transactions on item receipt and receiving a bill against said item receipt into two separate events. So that way you could keep is like the McDLT of QuickBooks. It allowed you to keep the hot side hot and the cold side cold. So if you have any idea of what I'm referencing, that shows your age. But it allowed you to keep those two events separate. And then, but the way or the mechanism that it allowed for that to happen is that all of your inventory receiving had to occur on item receipts, regardless of whether you've got the bill at the same time that you've received the items, right? So that is, and then the account that it ended up using is this account called inventory offset. So instead of going through accounts payable, like a bill and item receipt were doing, the item receipt would post against inventory offset, and then the bill would offset to inventory offset. And that was the clearing account, essentially, that those two events would flow through. And that allowed you to, in the bill, put in any changes or things that actually were billed differently, or if there were additional charges or things that they were charging for, to receive against those items, or to offset against those item receipts, right? So in QuickBooks Online, they have given you that choice into QuickBooks Online, right? So when you go to settings, sales, products and services, you have this choice of selecting what transaction equates, or what transaction will be your inventory receiving method, right? Bills and expenses or item receipts. You have that choice, right? The challenge is that when you select that option to be item receipts, it permanently changes that setting. And that desktop was the exact same way. When you enabled enhanced inventory receiving, all of your receiving had to occur through item receipts, even if you wanted to have a single transaction, but you have to now use item receipts because, and this is where I think accountants and bookkeepers are going to get surprised. I think is the politest way to say this. So when you, and I'll show it in a demonstration in shortly, that when you have this set to item receipts being the source of truth for receiving inventory, when you enter a bill and put items on it, it will not affect the right accounts because it's expecting the item receipt to do that for you. So we have an item receipt blog on schoolofbookkeeping.com where we just talk about this whole process. I do put the podcast when I talked about it with Alicia Katz-Pollock on that blog. So you can listen to the blog there, or you can listen to the podcast there on the blog. And of course, read all about it if you want to. And now, so let's do a little demonstration. Okay. So here in QuickBooks Online, this is the sales
Demo time.
Thanks for
Everybody
the
wake up, it's demo time. Oh my God, let's record that.
That's right. Let's have a little jingle.
I got sidetracked because Vegas just blocked Cassidy from being able to interview with Edmonton as their head hockey coach. And I am in a whole different world here right now. I just want everybody to know hockey first. Go ahead, Dan. Let's demo this.
All right. So in sales, your preferences or accountant settings, you go into sales, and then under products and services, you'll have this inventory receiving method. Here it does have that new flag in front of it. You can see in my case, it's grayed out. I can't change it. It even tells me right below that this setting can't be changed because I went past that point of no return of turning on item receipts as my inventory receiving method. So normally you would just go into your item receipts, which now where are they? How can I find them? I've fumbled around with this before. And where are they hiding?
Dan, I want to
I
read
missed-
on this demo.
Yeah,
I already don't like whatever product we're looking at right now. I hate it.
it should be in here under the
They
vendor
move stuff.
section.
Honestly, it was probably there last night. You woke up and it's gone. I am telling
yeah.
you that. How many times have I messaged you? I'm like, Dan, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Even Claude don't know.
Wherever
Let
it
me
is,
Google.
you end. Somebody help me out. But what I really wanted to demo here is I'm gonna receive some inventory items with a bill. Now that setting is turned on. All right, so I've got some really expensive Beach Vent gum here, $5 for 10 count. Three Musketeers king size for $6, which somehow has the description of
That is how much they are now. Did anybody here remember when candy bars were 39 cents at Walmart and the king size were like 89? I went to 7-Eleven the other day, $4.59 for a king size payday, $4.59 for nuts and sugar. Insanity. All right, finish. I just had to make sure that I was not alone in this.
And they're small.
No, nobody cares.
And they're
Yeah, the
small.
king size are not king anymore. They're like normal. I just stocked up on Halloween. I'm like, I'm going trick-or-treating and saving candy for the year because I can't afford candy bars anymore. This is just crap.
They're barely print.
And I can't drive to get the candy bar. I better walk around my neighborhood and steal candy from my neighbors. That's what I'm doing this year from now on. A nickel
All right.
charity. God damn. Don't age yourself here.
Thank you, Charity. You mentioned if you put the turn in the search bar, item
Yes.
receipts up at the top, that will bring up the actual way to get to it. And of course, you could bookmark it or what have you, if regardless of where they might move the option later, which I should have realized that before.
So, you know what? I love it because when you do demos like this and it moves and down, you're the expert. When anybody asks anything about QuickBooks, I'm like, go to Dan. I love, and I'm sure everybody else loves seeing this, that you as the expert are even like, it makes you feel better. And then it also sees how Dan fixed it. So I think it's a good thing. I hope it was planned. If not, pretend it was because that was brilliant. Keep going.
There we go. So we have some inventory items in here. As I selected my named vendor, it prompted with, do you want to pre-fill from the last one, which I said yes instead of no. So it just brought over a whole bunch of inventory items. I'm going to save it. And then we're going to take a look at the transaction journal under the hood, which under more and clicking transaction journal, waiting. A little bit more waiting. Okay, so you see that the inventory items themselves are offsetting instead of accounts payable or inventory asset. We are looking at every inventory item that's on there is inventory offset. So even though I went straight to a bill and I said, I'm receiving this bill with this merchandise, it is posting to inventory. It is not posting to the inventory asset account that you have specified on the items, which one would expect to see, right? So we have seen.
So Dan, I am paying half attention in my normal way because I have 7 screens open.
That's 25% more than usual.
I know. It's not supposed to do that, right?
It's
It's extra steps. So now I'm going to have to go into my balance sheet. I'm going to have to make a journal entry to adjust out. No? Okay, you're going to keep showing me. Okay.
You don't have to, right? You just need to make sure that these transactions that you're following the proper workflow.
Okay. So what I'm thinking here is somehow the actual item setup or whatever was actually set up in the
no.
Kind of like a product. Okay. I haven't used inventory in QuickBooks in 10 years. So I swear to God, I know QuickBooks. I do not inventory. I have not used in so long.
So as Jan is asking in the question, how do you fix this inventory?
That's what I'm asking, Jan. That's what I was trying to ask without asking it. So thanks, Jan. I'm going to go ahead and click answer live. There you go.
Yeah. Now what we could normally do is just use this to copy, what would be great, and maybe tool has an option, or while we're waiting for Intuit to actually have the option to copy to item receipt, would be the perfect option, because you have the same thing, just not in the in an item
if
receipt.
you don't update your Speechify or click out of that, I'm going to go crazy. Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh my God, make it go away. My OCD can't take it. Oh,
Sorry.
All right. Keep going. I'm interested in this. You see me, I'm not even caring if people are looking in. I'm paying attention. I'm really interested.
Let's create a new item receipt. Let's go back here. New item receipt.
You're going to show us how to do it right.
Vendor.
Not the Canadian vendor, eh? We don't have maple syrup set up. Just Canadians.
challenge
I've been
is-
accused of not liking Canada. I love Canada.
And what we're finding here is that as soon as I put this on an item receipt, I don't get the prompt like I do for every other transaction type that says, hey, would you like to use the last
But
size
Dan,
number?
this feature is now $7.95 more a month on your subscription, just so you know. We created an upgrade for you.
So I'm going to select what I think were the
Was a
most
snort.
common ones.
I think
Now,
that's hilarious.
I'm just choosing some items here.
Watermelon?
Watermelon.
What? This is Canadian.
Oh, I got to
Hey.
put in, get away, Speechify. So let's put in, and I'm just going to go down the list here and just choose.
Honestly, Dan, this is just really seeing all these candy bars is just really pissing me off that I paid $4.59 for a payday. Because I did. I'm not going to lie. I did pay for it. I really wanted that damn candy bar.
So now I save this. So now I can look at the transaction journal. As we had seen, every inventory item in a bill was pointing to inventory offset. So is every item receipt, but it's
doubled now. Then is what we're seeing. Is it's doubled.
It's doubled. It's doubled.
Okay.
It's doubled, but it's the debits versus the credits, right? So
Okay.
the bill. So let's just customize this and add.
Oh no, I see the debit credit, but what about the other one?
Yeah.
So I know you just entered the other transaction. You're going to remove one. So what you're showing us here? Oh, okay. I see this. So the other one came. It's an inventory offset, right? Oh, and now you just came and you credit out the inventory offset and moved it back to a debit. So essentially, it's just almost like a journal entry, but this is double entry, right? Why did we have to do this twice? So I feel like you just had to do one thing 2 times, which is honestly, why would I not just use 0, which is every thing I have to do, and I have to do twice.
This is allowing you to separate the receiving of the item
Okay.
from
It's
the
just
receipt
so
of the
different
bill.
than what I'm used to, right?
Yeah.
I just remember before it'd have a PO or a sales order, and then you'd receive against a sales order. When you received it, then you'd push it to a bill and you reconcile against your bill. It was really that simple. It seems like they took a very simple process and pushed it into whatever the hell they're doing here. Am I wrong?
If you're doing this on the same day, it is
Jan does not want me to talk anymore, by the way. Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
So the reason for having it is that you want to be able to separate the two events the way that the reality of receiving in a different time period as getting the bill. Now, here we are in this demo, we're doing it all on the same day. To your point, why am I doing this today? You wouldn't be doing this today because you didn't receive the bill today. You would be receiving the bill or entering the bill when the bill came, whenever that came, which could be a month from now. It could be 2 months from now. It could be next week. Or you might have had to prepay for your inventory, in which case you would put in the items that you ordered on a credit card transaction over an expense. And that is going to go to inventory offset when you've actually received it, the shipping, however long that's going to take. That's when you want your inventory your quantities to actually take place. Now, let's change the date of the item receipt to last month. So we'll do this on April 12th. So we have that. And we will do this let's take a look up Intuit Intelligence. Didn't mean to ask you any. So it's April 12th for the item receipt, and we have today, May 12th, for the bill. Now, I know we probably don't have the exact same items on there, but let's take a look at this Lassie Tassie assorted jars item, right? Go into our products and services. Let's see.
While you're not talking for 2 seconds, I just realized I'm responding to Charity in here. The last time I used QuickBooks inventory was on desktop. So in fact, QuickBooks Online did not even have an inventory module. So I always used desktop. And then when I started having clients with inventory, we used to plug in. So that is why I'm like, what are we doing here? In desktop, it was easy. It was the right way. So this just seems, again, like a lot of steps.
It's an extra step. Yes. Oh, that was, dang that Speechify. I got to just I'm in the wrong Chrome browser. So let's go into here. Oh, no. Stop. I can't get away. That went, my goodness. I can't scroll. I can't get this guy out of the way.
I hate that. My Grammarly does that too. No, turn off for this session. Click on that down. Click where it went. I do this with my Grammarly. Yes, for this session. Yes, for this session. Go up.
There we go.
Now it'll go away.
Thank you.
And then click that up. Click that X out or I'm going to go crazy. Thank you. Get rid of it.
All right. So you see this particular item, the actual quantity is being impacted on the item receipt, not the bill, right? So that all accounting as far as the receiving of the item is being impacted on the date of the item receipt when you have that preference set to item receipts. So where this gets people into a quandary is that if somebody has turned this on and they go right in to enter a bill, then they're going to have things posting to the wrong asset account, which will be inventory offset, not inventory asset. So the quantities are not going to be right. And subsequently, if the cost of the item has changed, then the cost of goods sold entries are going to be wrong because it hasn't been received yet. Yes.
So if something's posted at inventory offset, is that amount still available in my inventory or no? Is it taking down so I had 100, I post 10 to inventory offset, is now 90 available, or is it still holding 100 until I move it out of the inventory asset?
It is not in your inventory. The quantity is not in your inventory, even from the bill's perspective, until you have recorded an item receipt. If you are using this option, right?
I mean, I don't think I'm dumb, but this just seems like a lot. I'm just glad I don't deal with inventory. So in QuickBooks Online, what's a good solution to not use QuickBooks?
If you're going to be doing a lot of extra work if you're using an inventory management solution as well, right? This is the purpose of this is when you need to separate those two events into two events. And that's the use case for turning it on to item receipts. You can still use item receipts without it turning on this option. And then you're back to bills, right? But your item receipts are not going to impact the quantity on hand. So it ends up getting like this 6-1, or which option is better? It depends, right? It depends on if you need that, right? So if you do need to separate those two events into two separate transactions, this works great for that. Now, just keeping in mind that if somebody enters a check expense or a bill and puts inventory items on it, that needs to have an equal and opposite item receipt, which means that if it is, because it's going to be posting to this mysterious account called inventory assets, as far as what you have on hand, and it's going to be the wrong way. It's going to be the debit versus the credit, or the credit versus the debit. So it'll show that you have less on hand as far as the value of your inventory, because you've got this negative amount sitting in inventory offsets. Which
Can I
the
ask
item
you? I have I had a couple questions that are coming in that I can't answer, obviously.
Yeah.
From Jan, I have a client that we set the inventory receipting to bills and expenses, not item receipt. Where does it post then? It's just posting whatever your service is set up as, right? So that's what I assume.
And
so if you have a product set up,
and it's going to be posting based off of that bill or expense.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the transactional source of truth for receiving and the posting of those items to wherever the items are posting to.
See, I never used item receipts for this reason. It just seemed like a lot. And then this, I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer. When you go to enter the bill, does it remind you have item receipts and can you pick yours?
Yes. And that was, so let me go back and enter in a bill, not a pay bill. I put in its vendor again. We have the drawer.
Yeah, it should pop up. Yep.
Oh,
just like expenses. Hey, you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, they show up here, and then you can add them, add the item.
So this I do want to commend again. There is some things that Intuit does I like. I do like their autofill feature, and I do like this whole piece. This has made, I actually stopped using third-party bills because of this for a while, because I'm like, why would I? Can you go back and tie an item receipt to the bill? You should be able to. If you connect it to a bill, you should be able to click into anything and it should everything ties back via link, correct?
Yeah. What I would suggest doing is if you do have an item receipt.
That was from Barb.
Yeah. If you have an item receipt already and somebody entered in a bill erroneously, just deleting the bill and then re-entering a bill, and then it will then
retying in the expense.
Give you this option. Yeah. But I don't think you can go after the fact and retie it to
it'll remind you. It's already here. Yeah. It's already connected to something else. Like when you try to undo a deposit and they're like, no, it's connected. One last one. Charity wants to know when this feature began, as she has a client using QuickBooks Inventory. This feature, when we last talked about it on the open tab, I think was our first one in March. And I think that was part of the inventory enhancements when we were talking about sales orders and item receipts and those types of things, moving average costs, MAC options for weighted average as opposed to FIFO. So if you're not seeing this option in an existing client, it's typical for these types of things to start with new customers or new clients, new to QuickBooks, and work their way into existing subscriptions with whatever has been deemed as the most complicated data being last, right? If your client already has a significant inventory usage inside of QuickBooks Online, chances are they may not even see this. And if they don't, then they may not see it for a while your other ones that might never need it, they have this option all the way. But it's because that's typically the way that new features are rolled out. New clients get it first, and then increasingly more complicated data sets, because to their credit, they don't want to explode your data. They try not to. They roll it out to us, and usually they throw it in beta and let us opt in, right? Which is also a good thing. You know what a feature I wish Intuit would put in is, if you are an accountant, that you can turn off allowing your clients to opt into things. You're like, hey, they've already gone through it. Do not let them click in advance. Do not let them turn these things on. Do not let them use this. Stop it. I feel back in the day, I felt like we had some of that control. I say I don't have clients anymore. I have one that I'm a CFO for. But don't you feel like that I feel like we used to be able to do it back in the day. And now in days, and clients, of course, with all the AI out there, they're like, oh, I can do all this now. I can just look your job up. So they're in there playing around, or QuickBooks calls them up. I want to be able to be like, no, out of bounds, get out of here, mine. I just think that would be a good feature.
Yeah, I would think about maybe putting in that or something like that when settings are changed, right? To automatically send them an email or send you an alert.
I'm look into that.
Or maybe it automatically updates your client's engagement orders. If you mess with the settings, it'll cost you.
Yeah. I bet you can. I don't think Zap will do that, but I bet you can write it in Mate.
Yeah, something like that. Now we do
I'm
have
going to
some
try it.
Inventory resources over at School of Bookkeeping. We have an inventory fundamentals course where we talk about what you can track in QuickBooks Online, what can you track in QuickBooks Desktop. Then we have a workshop comparison of advanced inventory with QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise versus Katana. And then we also have an e-commerce fundamentals course as well, where we talk about some of the inventory concerns for those types of industries. So next polling question. Of your clients with inventory, what percentage use QBO for inventory management? Because there is a finite area of workflows that QuickBooks Online will manage, and it really falls under the category of a reseller of hard goods, meaning I buy stuff and I sell that same stuff. I don't do anything to that stuff between the time that I buy it and I sell it. And I don't need to know where it is, how much is on hand, how much might be promised for other clients. I don't build it into other things. So the reseller of goods is the sweet spot for QuickBooks Online for as far as inventory management is concerned. When you have more specific needs, like I buy in one quantity and I sell in others, or I need to know, I have some traceability. I'm in pharmaceuticals or food or electronics where I want to trace when I bought something and who I sold it to in case there's a problem with said product. That's not where QuickBooks Online's inventory management shines. I guess that's the nicest way to put it. So that was a lot.
That was a lot.
For one topic.
Oh, we're on to the next one. Anyhow. Yeah, it was a lot, but I feel like, I think it's important. I don't know. I learned something there. Like I said, I don't ever use, I remember the last time I used inventory was desktop. So of course it doesn't work that way. Of course desktop was easier.
But now that we've talked about it, at least for the 101 participants that are here, I don't want to see anybody posting in our Facebook group about QuickBooks is broken because I posted a bill and it's going to this inventory offset account, right? So now we know that it's working as designed. It's just not working the way that you would expect it to. And that's because this feature, this setting is turned on. And that's something that is a setting that cannot be undone, right? So once you cross over that threshold and change to item receipts as your source of truth for inventory receiving, all of your inventory receiving has to be done through an item receipt, which this is one of those things that customers can change it, but should they, right? So you just want to understand the ramifications of turning it on and what that means, right? So inventory offset is not a broken account. It's just a used account when this feature is turned on for inventory item receipts. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about desktop migration changes, because as Intuit is exceedingly putting the pressure on desktop customers to move QuickBooks Online, they are also putting a lot of effort into the desktop migration process when you move from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online inside the product, right? This is not talking about migration through SASANT or some other service. This is just inside of QuickBooks. You're in the company file, you're using the option to export to QuickBooks Online. Right. So now more data is an option, right? So it used to be when I worked there, it was like 150,000 target, which is basically the definition of what a target is. It's a transaction split, right? So you have a check with 5 different line items on it. It's got 5 targets, right? So that's the splits of the check are the targets. So 4 million is a lot of data, right? If you've got a lot of transactions with a lot of line items on them, 4 million is a significant amount of data. So removing the obstacle of I can't move to QuickBooks Online because I've got too much data to move. Now there's 4 million targets to work with. Does it work every time with 3.7 million? That's going to take a long time to actually process. So we don't know, right? We don't. The most that I've done is like 2.5 million. And it took a day or day and a half to actually process, but it did work, right? But now something that we have talked about before in the past, where you can move payroll a little bit more succinctly, and you can move attachments now with the desktop migration process. There's now a new wizard, a migration wizard that comes in and checks a couple things. Some of the things that we've seen in the past where have been a huge challenge after or post conversion. Unbilled charges is a huge potential problem.
That one doesn't come over, right?
The challenge, we'll get into a little deeper. When you have a time or expense that's associated with a project or a job inside a desktop, and you haven't billed for it, and you aren't, those come back up to the surface. So this can come in a lot of ways, but also inactive customers, inactive vendors, and inactive accounts. It gives you the opportunity to make them inactive. Inactive meaning that they haven't been used in the last 10 years, 2 years, according to the file checkup that it does. And then it also gives you some better indication of what you should be doing to maintain your file post-conversion or pre-conversion, right? So verifying your company data, because garbage in, garbage out. If you've got data that's damaged, the chance of that moving over is diminished by the fact that it's got some damage to the data, right? Never know what's going to occur. You also do have a little bit more flexibility with what you actually bring over, because now there is an option. You can always bring over just lists and balances before, but now when you choose that option of lists and balances, you can choose the specific lists that you want to bring over, right? So this gives you a good opportunity to basically create a shell company for your customers, or if you have just a chart of accounts that you want to use from desktop, you can use that as a starter company. You also do have the chart of accounts templates as an option or feature just in QuickBooks Online Accountant or Intuit Accountant Suite, as well. All right, so unbilled purchases or expenses. These are expenses that are marked billable, but they were never billed inside of QuickBooks, right? So it's a commonly missed workflow, right? They're check marked by default in desktop. So as soon as you put an expense on a transaction and mark it to a customer in desktop, it puts a check mark that it's billable. And that puts it in this on deck circle of waiting to be billed back to the customer, right? So your contractors who do just a lot of time and materials and expenses and with markup, that works great for them, because then they can put that back onto an invoice, bill it back to the customer. That closes the whole loop of that workflow. But a lot of people might experience talking to people, didn't even realize that was an option, right? As soon as you bring up an invoice and that window pops up and says, hey, you've got time and expenses or time costs to add, they just X out of that or move forward and then just create their invoice. Maybe they want to create from an estimate instead of the time and materials, right? So they want to skip out of that. So they leave a lot of these unbilled expenses just sitting there because they can, right? So they're not intended to be used by the company. And so what happens is that all of those unbilled purchases, they come over, and it's now an issue because on the sales overview tab, there is this section for unbilled income. And this is a real screenshot from a real customer because they have $9.9 million in unbilled income. But when we look at it, it's got transactions dating 10 years ago because they were the 2.5 million target customer that was moved over, right? So this ends up being a challenge, or it's a nuisance, right? You can only tell a customer, just ignore that because they may actually, now that they know that they can do that, they might want to use that. But if they've got this large number of $9.9 million sitting in unbilled income, they really can't make much decisions off of that because it's filled with legacy or historical data that doesn't make any sense, right? So what this does actually in this option during the migration, it will list, hey, you've got $9.9 million in unbilled charges, and it will do that as part of the migration wizard to mark them not billable, right? So that $9.9 million of unbilled charges will go away because that's what you really need to do is correct it in desktop before it comes over into QuickBooks Online. So in one fell swoop, you can mark all of those unbilled charges. There will be did I have a screenshot with it? No, I did not. Sorry. There is a screenshot in the screen itself, it will list all four of these things, unbilled charges and customers and vendors and accounts, and you can expand on them. You can see the individual ones. You can check off the ones that you want, or you can skip the whole section of that at that point in time. So it does give you some insight into do it. It's not like an all or nothing type of thing, which is they've actually thought this through, right? So to be able to do that. Now, the biggest, but to all of this is that if they're using payroll in QuickBooks Desktop and they are using job costing on said payroll, that's going to pose a different challenge, right? So that customer, this is all based off of the use case of that customer with 2.5 million targets. They have $9.9 million in unbilled charges, and they were using QuickBooks Payroll and putting their job costing on those paychecks. Paychecks, by default, don't come over as paychecks during the conversion. It only brings over the current year's payroll data as year to date so that you can move forward from the date of conversion moving forward. Historical paychecks, they come over as regular checks. That ends up causing a challenge now with the unbilled revenue because in order to maintain the job costing of the expenses versus the costs and the income of those jobs, to maintain the stability of those reports, it brings over the paychecks as checks split out by account, by expense account. And those that are posted to a job or a project, they get marked as billable. So as you can see here on the screenshot, those job costed expenses get marked as billable at that point inside of QuickBooks Online. So even though you've cleaned up the unbilled expenses. For the actual unbilled expenses, the conversion ends up causing more challenges because the way that paychecks get treated as regular checks, and if they're using job costing, right? Now, this can be corrected with tools, and we talked about this, your options with handling unbilled purchases on a workshop Wednesday that we did, right? So you have this option of using desktop or Sassant to clear the billable flag in desktop, and then you can use the manage. Now, for this particular issue of paychecks, you should be able to use the QuickBooks, the QBO tools to be able to manage that. There's a manage billable expenses tool, hidden tool inside of QuickBooks where you can mark those as unbillable at that point, or you can use Sassant or Sassant. I'm not quite sure of the emphasis.
I say Sassant, but no.
Sassant.
I also say niche.
Yes. You can see those in those options. There's a replay there. And on our next QB Power Hour, we're going to be talking about making bulk edits in QuickBooks, where you can use some of these tools inside of QuickBooks. We'll talk about Right Tool. We'll talk about Sassant, Spreadsheet Sync, what's available in the product, and what's available outside of that as an accountant toolbox. And then here's the last thing I want to talk about with the inactivating unused list elements. It does give you this screen where it looked at customers that are older than that haven't been used in the last 2 years, or vendors that haven't been used, or accounts that haven't been used in the last 2 years. You might want to make them inactive. And it does that in bulk, and it can be skipped. And more importantly, it creates a backup when you do any of these things before sending it over to QuickBooks, right? So it'll be in the condition, the raw condition of the company file at that point in time. So before you even move it over, you can restore that back up automatically, right? So any thoughts on that, Sharon? I know we're coming up on the top of our hour here.
No, I inactivate like a mother effer, but I use a lot. So when I open up my chart accounts, I don't like seeing anything active. I'm a little bit OCD, so my P&Ls are always gorgeous. So I bulk inactivate so much, and nothing drives me nuts more than the accounts that they're like, you can't unactivate this. This is required. I'm like, I don't use that. Stop leaving inventory in my balance sheet, or not an inventory company. Stop me. Ugh. So there are some few things that drive me nuts, but anyhow, I like this stuff. I know this stuff.
Yeah.
Is there another poll question? There was, but
yes.
there
is.
There's somebody asked. I'll launch it real quick.
Yeah, you can go ahead and launch the last poll question, which is our usual one. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the Facebook group that we have. Oops, I'm trying to get to the right one. We're threatening 18,000 members in the QB Power users group. We typically have about 20 posts or questions a day in there. And I was just looking at the engagement report. We are about 8,000 active in a month, which is really cool. So I appreciate all of the people helping people. It's really cool to see people being able to respond to each other. There is an Intuit presence there, but it's not designed as a way to circumvent their normal shits, right? Because they can't track, and we're limited to the Facebook analytics, which is just whatever Mark Zuckerberg makes available for us to do.
Which depends on who's in presidency at the time, on which way he's going to lean on that. Ooh, should have muted myself.
Finger, yeah. But we appreciate the people who give back as much as they take when it comes to asking questions and providing help to each other. Some of the more common ones more popular ones is we're talking about non-Intuit or QuickBooks products, or QuickBooks payroll versus Gusto or ADP have what's the word I'm looking for, Sharon?
I don't know.
Objective. There. You have an
There you go.
objective conversation, not slanted one way or the other, because if you go into the forum, the community, the QuickBooks community, everyone and all the moderators in there will be slanted one way or the other, right?
I'm slanted one way, but it's not.
You're
I'm
more
on the
tilted.
pessimist side. My glass is just a glass. The liquid in it's going to get drank or thrown out one way or the other. So
I used to have a shirt that said, it looked like a glass with half full beverage, and the writing was optimists are half full of it.
I'm a realist. It's glass.
That's it. The glass. Yeah. So these are some of the more popular posts that we have in there. You can welcome to join the Facebook group if you aren't already. And hopefully the search works. You're limited to how the search works based in Facebook, but you won't have to wait too long to find an engaging post to comment. So we did ask the last poll question, and next time on the QuickBooks Power Hours, we are going to be talking about making bulk edits in QuickBooks. You do need to register individually, so go ahead and do that now before you forget, because that is the way that I would operate. Is I would either do it on the last day or the first day, nowhere in between. Sharon, any final thoughts for today?
Good job, Dan. No, I said a lot. Already.
All righty. Thanks you all for joining us.
I hope I can see everybody at Firm Growth Forum. How about that? Wait. I'll be at Firm Growth, right? No, it's the week after. I was trying to think when I'm on here. So next week, I'll hopefully see everybody at San Diego for Firm Growth Forum.
There we go.
Sandy's going to be there. And I saw that James is.
All right. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on the QB Power Hour, and hope everybody has a great week, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to support our amazing sponsors. You'll find them listed on our homepage at qbpowerhour.com. And if you're getting value from the show, we'd love it if you left us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more accounting pros just like you. Until next time, keep powering up your practice with QB Power Hour.